Welcome everyone. Bruchim Abayim. Today's Amud is Daf Tes Vav Amud Aleph. We're about to wrap up on Daf Yud Daled Amud base at the bottom of the page. We still had a couple of lines. Fascinating Gemara today. So, at the moment, we're just finishing the last sugya, which was how does Reish Lakish know that Kaidem Zrika, if someone eats from this carbon before he does Rikas Adam, that there's Malkus. It was a Machlekes Rebbeinu and Reish Lakish. How does Reish Lakish know that there's Malkus? So we're 5 lines from the bottom, and we're about 5 words in. So he learns it from Ahi B'chol Kodesh Nafka. It says B'chol Kodesh. And B'chol is extra, it's coming to tell me something even before Zrika. That's how Reish Lakish understands it. That's where you get it from this word B'chol Kodesh, B'chol. You could just say B'kodesh Esiga. What's B'chol? It's coming to include Kodesh Zrika. Says the Gemara, Tanya Kavasei de Reish Lakish. We have a brisa that says like Reish Lakish. It says B'chol Kodesh Esiga. So that's an Azhara L'Oichel. Azhar L'Oichel and Azhar L'Negeh. Is that a warning that you shouldn't eat? Is that a warning that you shouldn't touch? Taman Leimar. The pasuk tells me B'chol Kodesh Esiga Vela Mikdash Loisovai. B'chol Makish. There's a hekesh Kodesh LeMikdash. There's this connection between eating Kodesh and walking into the Mikdash. Ma Mikdash, just like walking into the Mikdash is Dova Sheish Bein Netilas Hashama. Walking to the Mikdash when you're Tomei Chayiv Kares for Af Kol Davar Sheish Bein Netilas Hashama. Similarly, everything that there's a Netilas Hashama, that there's Kares for, there's a Hekesh for. V'i Benegia, if you think we're talking about Negia, Mi'ika Netilas Hashama, is someone Chayiv Kares if he touches? No. Elo bachila. There's only a chiv kares if he eats, and therefore the hekesh is from mikdash al kodesh is only from eating. Is only from walking into the mikdash to eating, not to touching. So that's how Reish Lakish knows it from. And there's a brisa like him. We learn from the word b'chol. B'chol teaches me afilu kodim zrika. There's going to be also to eat. Now we get to a whole new Gemara. Whole new Gemara, Meimer of Rabbi Yechanan, Omar Rabba Baba Chana, not Omar Rabbi Yechanan. So, quick hakdama, anytime the Torah says there's a lav, Malkus. Don't do this, Malkus. If it's nitikla essay, that means the Torah comes as there's a mitzvah essay afterwards. Don't steal. If you steal, you have to give it back. So what's the din? You don't get Malkus. Instead of getting Malkus, you give it back. That's the nitikla essay. What happens if the essay is before the lav? It says the essay do this before it says, for example, it would say, give back what you steal and don't steal. That we'll see in a minute that's a bad example, a very bad example. But there are some sheetahs that hold that's a good example. We'll see why. But that's the kasha here. What happens if the essay, the positive, comes before the lois essay? So Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Kol lois essay, any lois essay, shekod my essay, that there's a prior active positive mitzvahs essay, you go ahead and do this. Like in olav, you do get malchus. That's not called the lav shenitik essay, she'ain like in olav. In that case, you do get malchus. Now, Amalai, they said to him, Amata, did you really say this? Amalulai, he said, no, I never said this. Now let's go back to the previous Amud. I just want to see, what are we talking about here? What exactly is the case? So take a look, the very last line in Rashi. The very last line in Rashi, he says, Aval essay shekoidem es alav, va'ata yochel lekayme koidem averis alav. If you could actually do the mitzvah essay before you do the lav, ein ze nituk alav. Then the essay is not coming to, nituk means like to uproot. If you could do the essay before you could do the lav, so the essay is not coming to uproot the lav. It's something you could do even before the lav. When do we say it uproots the lav? That's only if you can do it afterwards. So even if you do it after the avera, lo nifter min malchus. That doesn't exempt you from malchus. if you did it afterwards. Since you could do it beforehand, it doesn't matter if you do it afterwards. Take a look at Taisvis. Now there is an opinion here, the Ritva brings a gear, so that it's talking about there has to be, the Torah wrote the essay before it wrote the lav. Are we discussing here where you do the essay? We're talking about where the Torah says it. So the Taisvis has a Havamin, and that's a gear in the Ritva, that it's talking about if the Torah mentions the essay before it mentions the Lois essay. So take a look at Taisvis. Kol Lois essay shekod me essay leikin alav. Taisvis says, Tema, big kasha, the last Taisvis, Tema, the halav the gzeila, that's the Lois essay of gzeila, shekod my essay. And there the essay comes before the lav, the veishav is a gzeila, asher gazel, it says, give back the gzeila, vafil hachi, ein leikin alav. And there you don't get Malkus, even though the essay comes before the Lois essay. So the kasha is, as you see from Gzela, even by Gzela you don't get Malkus. It's called the Lavanitic essay. That's a classic Lavanitic essay. You don't get Malkus. But you see that even though it was written in the Torah first to do the essay, Veishav Gzela, Asher Gazal. V'yishleimet, it says, Deshani gabi lav the Gzela, she'ein l'kayim ha'essay, they says the only way to give back something you stole is after you stole it. So you're muchach to say that the essay of giving back the gzela is always after the Lois essay. So you see, the place understands the whole problem here is not about whether it says it in the psukim. The whole question here is when you could do it. Can you do the essay before the Maisa or only after you do the lav? So, back to Gemara. Amalai, they asked Rabbi Yochanan, did you really say this? Did you really say if the essay comes first, ein loikin alav? Amalai, Rabbi Yochanan said, lai. Amalai, amata, amalu, lai. He said, no, I never said this. Rabbi Yochanan didn't say this, apparently. That's what he said. Amarabba, Elokim, I swear, this is a Lashon Shvua. Amarta, you said it. Amra, you said it. Why are you so upset that you said it? Ksiva, it's a pasuk. V'tanina, and it's a brisa. And Rashi explains it doesn't mean it's two. It means it's a pasuk and a brisa that explains the pasuk. So why are you objecting to the fact that you said it? What's his name? Rabbi Chana said you said it. Rabba says, I swear you said it. I wonder if this is the same Rabba as Rabbi Chana. But okay, the Gemara doesn't clarify. Elokim Amra, you said it. And I don't know why you're so embarrassed. It's a pasuk, it's a price. What does it say? Ksiva, it says in the pasuk, V'yishalcha min ha'machana, v'lo yitamus machaneim, send him out of the machana and don't make the machana tomei. We're talking about the Azara, the Mokum Mikdash. It says, send him out of the machana, don't make the machana tomei. Meaning, first leave, it says first do the essay, send him out, that's the essay, that's a good part. V'lo yitamas machaneim, don't be over the love of yitamas machane. That's the pasuk. Tanina, it says in the brisa, habola mikdash tameh, someone that comes into the mikdash, habola mikdash tameh, and it says in the brisa, habola mikdash tameh gets malchus, right? We know you get malchus. There's one of the lists of people who get malchus. Habola mikdash tameh. What do you mean? In the pasuk, the essay comes beforehand. So you see, even if the essay comes beforehand, you still get malchus. Habola mikdash tameh is one of the lists. It's on the list. Habola mikdash tameh, he gets malchus, even though the essay comes first. So why was Rabbi Yochanan chayzer from this maimer? Why did he say he never said it? Ella, my time. So why does it look like he was chayzer? In other words, Gemara is assuming now, when he said he didn't say it, he didn't mean I never said it. He means it could be I said it, but I don't hold like that. They thought he meant, is this what you believe in? And he said no. And so what do you mean you said it? Yeah, he said it, but now he was chayzer. So the question is, why was he chayzer? That's the question now. Mishum de kasha le oines. Rabbi Yochanan has a kasha from the sugya of oines. The Tanya. What's the case? Oines shigirish. Someone who So the case is, a quick introduction, someone's minus a woman, he has to pay, and he has to marry her. He has to take this woman, and it sounds like a crazy scenario, but the idea generally, I guess, is that here he's dating with this girl, and he decides, you know what, he doesn't want to marry her, it's not for him, but he wants to be minus her. He figures he'll get in, one-eyedness. So the Torah says, okay, now you're stuck with her. Now you pagim her, you damage her. She's now damaged goods. Now you've got to marry her the rest of his life. He's never allowed to divorce her. Right? That's what the Torah says. So, Eines Shigirish is Eines Shigirish. This Eines, he's Megarish's wife. It's also, but he does it anyway. Im Yisrael, if he's a Yid, if he's a Yisrael as opposed to a Kayin, Machzeh, he has to take her back. Ve'ein Aleiki does not get Malkus. Im Kayin, if he's a Kayin, and a Kayin is not allowed to be Machzeh Gusha, so a Kayin is not allowed to marry Gusha, Im Kayin Laika, so he gets Malkus for the Einus, the original Einus. Ve'ein Machzeh, you can't take her back. It's an interesting question. We're not going to delve into it now. But why by Kayin you have an essay to marry her, and a Leis essay of a Kayin marrying a Grusha? Why is the essay not Doicha the Leis essay of Machzeh Shusosei? Okay, an interesting question on side. But the Bryce says if he's a Kayin, he doesn't. If he's a Kayin, Leika ve'enu Machzeh, you can't take it back. Im Yisrael, but if he's a Yisrael, he's not a Kayin. Machzeh ve'enu Leika, he brings it back. He does not get Malkus. Am I? Why doesn't he get Malkus? Also Gemara. Lois essay shekod me essayhu. The Lois essay comes after the essay. The essay came first. Vililki, he should get Malkus. And the fact he does not get Malkus means that even though an essay comes first, you still don't get Malkus. It's still considered the Nittik essay. So that's the Mida Kasha. That's Rabbi Yechanan's Kasha. This is why Rabbi Yechanan backed down from his original statement, because of Einus. The Einus does not get Malkus once he's divorced her. Machzeh ve'ein aleika. Okay, so Gemara says, Amar Ula. Ula says, Lo Amar, shouldn't say in the pasuk Leisi el Isha by Einus. Don't tell me at all by Einus that she should be his wife, Leisi el Isha. We should learn out the cases of Einus from the case of Maiti Shemra. In other words, it says Leisei Leisha in two cases. It says Leisei Leisha by Einus, and it says Leisei Leisha by a Maiti Shemra. What's a Maiti Shemra? Guy's married to his wife, just gets married, and he comes out and he says, Le Matasi la Basulim. She didn't have Basulim, she's not a virgin. He wants his money back, he wants a refund, he's not paying Suva, get her out of here, she was Mazana. Right? So, in those days they had long engagements. She was already asura to the Baal from when she was engaged. So he says to her, he says to the father, I took your daughter, and his Meitzi Shemra gives her a bad name. Literally, Meitzi Shemra gives her a bad name. Now who's going to touch this woman? He's ruined her life. So one of the things it says is, Lo yochel agasha kol yomov. He's stuck with her the rest of his life. Normally, the Torah says you could divorce a woman. Machalik is if she burns your soup or if she's really bad to you, you could divorce her. Hey, he can never divorce her. He's stuck with her. He wanted out. He tried playing this game. Nothing doing. Now he's stuck. So Ula says, in the case of Moitzi Shemra Shaloyos Maisa, he didn't actually do anything physical. He just told the father, Lei Matzasi B'sulim. She doesn't have B'sulim. Omar Achman in the Torah says, V'loi Siel Isha. He's stuck with her. She's his wife. So Einus like Oshkain. In the case of Einus, where he ruins a ksuva. Now she's no longer basula. Like Koshkain, Kavachaima, he should be stuck with her. He should have to marry her. So why does it say in the Torah? Why do you need both? Why do you need both psukim? Im eina in lefanov, so tneu in la'achrav. So if you don't need the pasuk to tell me v'leisi leisha before he gets married, this Einus that he has to take her. Of course he has to take her. That we know from Meisei Shema you're going to marry this poor girl, right? But now, if he's Megarishav Leisei Leisha, Shem Girish Yachzeh, he's got to take her back. Meaning he takes her back and he doesn't get Malkus. So V'leisi Leisha doesn't tell me he's got to marry this girl. What's it telling me? If he's Megarisha, he takes it back and doesn't get Malkus. That's why by Einis you don't get Malkus. Even though it's an essay Kodim Alav, and Rabbi Yechon had this kasha from it, but still, says Ula, it's not a good kasha. That's not a good kasha because here you got this extra pasuk. Loisei Isha, we would know from Moitzi Shemra, and it's coming to tell me that you don't get Malkus. That's what the Loisei Isha is coming to tell me. Just take it back and don't get Malkus. Now the Gemara asks on this Svar of Ula, Vakati, Einis from Moitzi Shemra like Nigbar. You can't learn out Einis from Moitzi Shemra. That's not a good limud. If we just say by Moitzi Shemra he has to marry her, we would not know that by Einis he has to marry her. Why? You've got, there's a kasha on this Kavachayma. Mala Moitzi Shemra, Shekein Loike Mishalim. Moitzi Shemra is incredibly machmir. There's a major chumrah by Moitzi Shemra. The Torah says Loike Mishalim. He pays her and he gets Malkus. And he's stuck with her the rest of his life, right? It's one. I think it's the only case the Torah says where normally you get Malkus, you don't pay. You pay, you don't get Malkus. It's the only case where you get Malkus and you pay. I think we saw previously that some Shitas hold because the Malkus is for what he did to the father, or the Malkus is for what he did to her, and the Mishalim is what he did to the father. Now, when he does this, he's been paying him two people, the father and the daughter. Okay, but either way, there's a like a Mishalim. But with Eines, in the case of Eines, he's not like a Mishalim, so how can you learn that? You see, it's very chomer. How could this guy do this to his wife? You take a girl, you marry her, then you decide to ruin her life? In a way, maybe it's worse than a guy who's ma'anas his girlfriend. Okay. You might think you pay and you get Malkus. That's Muhammad, so therefore you can't learn out to the case of Eines. Ella. So what should be the din? It shouldn't say don't tell me by Moitzi Shemra Isha. And let's learn it out from Eines. If by Eines you have to marry her, by Moitzi Shemra for sure you should marry her. If Moitzi Shemra is more chomer, so he should be stuck with her. Eines is not like a Mishalem. Eines, which is more cow, he's stuck with her. Moitzi Shemra Lakoshke, so Moitzi Shemra, which is more chomer. Of course he should be stuck with her for the rest of his life. So why does it say by Moitzi Shemra V'Leisei Isha? Moitzi Shemra. If you don't need it for classic case of Moitzi Shemra, because we know for Kavachayma, let's send out for Eines. Let's use this V'Leisei Isha for Eines. We have a pasuk by Eines. So if you don't need to tell me he has to marry her, tell me that after he tries to divorce her, he's got to take her back. Now go ask, you can't learn out Moitzi Shemra for Eines. Why? Because there's a kasha the other way. You could ask, Mala Eines can also Maisa. Eines in a way is much more chomer than Moitzi Shemra, because by Eines he actually did a Maisa. By Eines he does a physical action. By Moitzi Shemra he just spoke. And therefore you can't learn out the other way either. So now we're about the fifth from the end of the narrow lines. Ella, a whole new mahalach over here. Ella. So that's out of the window. Ella, lo ya'amma loisei isha. Go Moitzi Shemra, new limit. Don't tell me by Moitzi Shemra loisei isha. Why? Shari ishtahi. She's already his wife. Why does the Torah say v'loisei isha by Moitzi Shemra? He's married to this girl. There's kedushin, there's nesuin. He's married to her. So why would you say v'loisei isha? Shari ishtahi. Lama nemar. So why did it say v'loisei isha? Im eina inyan la Moitzi Shemra. Pnei inyan la Eines. If you don't need it for the case of Moitzi Shemra, use it for the case of Eines. Use it somewhere else. If you don't need it for classic case of Eines, because we already have it there. If you don't need it to tell me he has to marry her, use it to tell me that he can't divorce her. If he divorces her, he has to take her back. Sorry. If you don't need it for, now the Gemara has an interesting mahalach. If you don't need it to tell me Moitzi Shemra has to stay with her, of the day. Tell me for Moitzi Shemra that if he divorces her, he's got to take her back. Why are you telling me that the Einus has to take her back? The lie, lucky. They shouldn't get Malkus. So the Gemara answers, Enochanami, you're right. We can use this for Moisei Shemra. If he divorces her, he has to take her back. And now we can learn Einus from Moisei Shemra. So Gemara asks now, we're about to start the first wide line, but my Gomer, how do we learn it? First wide line, if you're going to learn out, now this is similar to what we had before. But my Gomer, if you're going to learn out from Moisei Shemra, Ibu means it's a similar case, not Kavachayma, but it's a similar situation. Let's learn out one from the other. You can have a kasha. Mala Moisei Shemra, Shkein Le'asa Maisa. But Moisei Shemra, you didn't do Maisa. I need to do Maisa. How can you learn out? So so that's out of the window. So it looks like we got a good kasha here. Ela Marava. So a whole new mahalach now. Rava says a whole different mahalach. Why is it, we're back to the kasha, why is it by Einus he doesn't get Malkus, he has to take her? L'chaira, you got this essay, why didn't you get Malkus? There's a place to say in the essay, Alam Rava, Kol Yomov Ba'amod V'Hachzer. It's a classic lava nitik essay. This is considered lava nitik essay. V'chein, ki also Rav in Amar Rabbi Yechanan. There's another Memra Amar Rav in Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Mefurish. This is what Rabbi Yechanan himself said. Kol Yomov Ba'amod V'Hachzer. That what? This woman is Ba'amod V'Hachzer. We'll see. Let's take a look in Rashi what that means. What does it mean? Kol Yomov Ba'amod V'Hachzer. So, let's take a look in Rashi. The narrow lines. It's like the fifth line from the bottom in Rashi. Fifth narrow line from the bottom. Ela Marava. Why by Einus does he take her back and not get Malkus? This is a classic lava nitik lesei. Even though it looks like the essay's first, no, this is a lava nitik lesei. The Omakra, Kol Yomov. It says in the pasuk, Kol Yomov. In other words, it says in the pasuk, Lo Yochel Gasha. He can't divorce her. That's the lois I say. Kol Yomov. Now the Kol Yomov is really an essay. Why? It could have just said you can't divorce her. Of course, what do you mean? It means for 24 hours you can't divorce her? Of course it means you can never divorce her. Why did you say Kol Yomov? My Kol Yomov. What is Kol Yomov doing there? It's completely extra. So Hachi Kama, says Rashi, Loite b'shlicha Kol Yomov al yachzirena. He's always got to take her back. The Torah is telling me that there's a mitzvah now to take her back. Now there's a mitzvah essay to take her back after the love. After he did the lace essay of sending her, you end up with this essay of bringing her back. Now, I just want to, because it's a little bit of a complicated sugya. We start off by saying by the mikdash, right? That it says don't go into the mikdash, but it says vishalchum in a machane, send him out of the machane, and v'lo yitamu machaneim. Don't make my machane tameh. So you might the Ritva asks Pasha Kasha, you can't send the guy out of the machane until he's in the machana. You first have to be over the lav in order to be mekayim there, in order to do the essay of leaving. So of course it's essay after the leis essay. The whole kasha, the whole raya to Rabbi Yechanan is l'chayr not a good raya. You want to bring a raya from Yishachim in a machana that you have an essay before the leis essay. That's not true. You have to first be over the leis essay in order to do the essay. You first have to go into the machana in order to leave the machana. So always the leis essay is going to come first. It almost looks like, this is not what Ritva says, it almost looks like the whole question is, what does it say first in the pasuk? It says person the pasuk Yishalchu min hamachana, and then it says we saw Taisus and Rashi both seem to be saying it doesn't matter what the pasuk says. That's not what we're discussing here. We're discussing here what you do first. Do you first steal or you first give back? You can't give back before you steal. That's what Taisus says, right? Here is it you can't leave the machana until you went in. So Ritva says no, it is shaykh because there's actually two averis with being in the mikdash. Tomei. One is v'lo yitamas machanem, don't make the machane tomei, and the other one is we saw before lo yitamas amikdash. There's another pasuk, right? There's two pasukim, v'lo yitamas machanem, and the pasuk we had on the page before, which was. It's important to know the pasuk. The first one we had B'chol Kodesh V'Siga, and then we had okay, it'll hurt me. Oitu Mosai Boy, something like that, right? So the kasha is, so the Ritva says there's two averis here. One avera is you can't enter the machane tamei. If you're tamei, you can't walk in, and for that you can't do the essay before you walk in. But there's another leisa say. The other leisa say is if a guy's in the mikdash and he becomes tamei, now there's a mitzvah essay to leave. He's not over the lav unless he stays there, unless he puts his feet up, waits up maybe 4 seconds, I don't know what. If he says I'm not leaving, then you're over another lav called this lav here. So we have here, so that's the two averis, and here it is shaykh to be over the essay of leaving before you do the leis essay of making the machane tomei. So I just wanted to clarify that that's this raya here. Okay, have a wonderful day. We'll wrap it up over here. Shkoyach.